Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Khaled ElSherbini, and I was asked by many people to present myself in full detail. So today I present you what I call my personal portfolio, where in a visual shape, I try to show you my career and the different disciplines that I've gone through over the years. So let's go over my personal portfolio. First of all, my academic education. I have numerous academic education degrees from so many universities, all of them of a very high profile and in numerous disciplines, as I was talking about. So I have a doctorate in mechanical and aerospace engineering from West Virginia University in the United States. AUC, my original school, I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a master's in environmental and sustainable sciences. From the German University in Cairo, I have an MBA in Strategic Innovation and Technology Management. And from Liverpool John Moores University in the United Kingdom, I am finishing now a master's in transpersonal psychology. Other education, and I call it other education because beside the academic education, I consider these tools, additions. These are the things that, yes, we teach, the topics we teach, but they are supported by the extensive background in academia and in research that I showed you in the previous slide. So I am an Enneagram professional teacher. I'm accredited by the International Enneagram Association for, I guess, 4 or 5 years now. I'm also a certified life coach by the International Coaching Institutes. I am a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming from the International NLP Trainers Association. I am a certified spiral dynamics practitioner from Spiral Dynamics Integral from Value Match in the Netherlands. I am a Reiki Universal Energy Master Teacher from the RAND Association in the United States. I'm a professional member of the Integral Life platform that presents the integral consciousness material. I've been a professional member with them for also like 4 or 5 years. And I'm also a practitioner in systemic constellations for the Center for Systemic Constellations in the United Kingdom. This is my core academic study. Of course, I have much more than that. I'm also a mindfulness teacher, but most of all, how I present myself and my sciences, I am a thinker and philosopher in the field of consciousness sciences. Again, I have so many other certificates beside these, but these are the areas that I really went deep into. I didn't just take some courses on the surface. And this is a journey of almost a decade. In academic career, so I've had 3 careers in academia, in professional, and right now in psychospiritual psychology and the psychospiritual world. In academia, I have been teaching either as an assistant or an assistant professor, a lecturer, an associate in so many universities around the world, all of them of the highest class. Here is some of them. So I have been teaching at West Virginia University and some other places around WVU. I was a professor for a while at the American University in Cairo. I also established and was one of the first teachers to establish the engineering department at the Canadian International College. I was a professor of engineering and a professor of business, where I was teaching innovation and technology management at the German University in Cairo. I taught at the Arab Academy for Science, Technology, and Maritime Transport as a part-timer. I also established the engineering department at the Egyptian-Russian University. I was the first teacher in that program, and I was teaching all the courses in engineering until the department was fully established. In addition to these universities, I have been a seminal part of the Siemens initiative that was in Egypt about 10 years ago. That was led by the late Hani Luka, where we were combining universities, the corporate environment and the academic environment to try to provide opportunities to the young graduates that had so much potential in innovation and in technology management and we would give them chances for getting grants and having their companies in a spin-off. I was also one of the founders of ECASTI, the Egyptian Center for the Advancement of Science, Technology and Innovation. It was an NGO that was meant to study the research and the academic environment in Egypt and provide non-biased and non-governmental strategies and advice to the governmental organizations so that we would advance science, technology, and innovation in the country. It was one of the great initiatives. It was also that was initially led by Dr. Ala Idris, and we were the co-founders in that initiative. My professional career, I've had a very extensive professional career too. So I was a researcher, and most of it was in research and development. So in GMC, Gennady for Manufacturing Control and Commerce, a local company in Egypt, I was into solar energy, and we were doing research into building some solar panels for GMC. From there, I moved into General Motors. At that time, we were building Isuzu trucks and Opel cars, Opel Vectra cars, and I was responsible for the technology transfer of the parts so that we can localize them in Egypt. So I would consult with the Egyptian companies how they can localize these parts and start manufacturing them in Egypt. From there, during my PhD studies, I was a researcher at West Virginia University, and I was one of the group that built the first anechoic chamber for electromagnetics at West Virginia University, and I was doing research in printed circuit board antennas. And then I worked at the federal government, the Center for Disease Control in NIOSH, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health in the United States in Morgantown, West Virginia, where I was working with industrial hygienists and epidemiologists and physicians on indoor air quality and how we can find the effect of the indoor air quality on the health of the people working there. I was, as an engineer, part of the team providing the engineering experience. From there, I moved into the Egyptian, let's say the precursor for the Egyptian Space Agency. At that time, it was called the National Institute for Remote Sensing and Space Sciences, NARS, National Association. And we were part of the team that traveled to Ukraine and worked at UJMASH, one of the leading institutes in the world for satellite and rocket design, where we totally made a technology transfer for how to design and build and launch a satellite. And we launched the first Egyptian satellite, which was of course totally made by the Ukrainians, and we were the technology transfer team. And the team I was with at that time later moved on to establish the Egyptian Space Agency. So we can be considered to be the founders or the pre-founders to this Egyptian Space Agency. From there, I moved into wind energy research. And that is where I worked with SWEG, a local company, to acquire and transfer the technology from a Spanish company, M-Torres. And we transferred the technology for a 1.65 megawatt wind turbine. It's a huge one. It's more than double anything that we have in Egypt right now. And we were also designing a 2.0 megawatt wind turbine. That is a monster of a machine. That is over 120, 130 tons, like 100 meters up in the air. So it was a huge, huge project of technology transfer. After that, I became the leading R&D director and chief executive in Egypt, and I was establishing many R&D departments around the country. I was also consulting with the governmental agencies in the area of research and development. And one of my biggest projects, and actually spent a lot of time in it, was in Asfour Crystal. At that time, Asfour was the largest company in the world that creates crystals. And I established and led the department until we were over 100 technicians and engineers and teachers and professors, and we had so many agreements with universities in Egypt, with the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, with so many research institutes, glass institutes in Jena, in Germany, in Switzerland, with Gödel and with Schmidt in Germany. So we had so many associations. We also did a lot of research with the Chinese, some Chinese companies. And that was, I would say, the peak of my R&D work. After that, I acted as an R&D consultant for numerous agencies. I became the science advisor for an Egyptian presidential candidate at one of the moments. I was even during that time nominated as a Minister of Energy for the Egyptian cabinet if that presidential candidate would have won. He didn't win. So that was a career. So as you can see, this is a very extensive academic career and a very extensive professional career. About a decade ago, I decided to totally leave all that behind. Of course, I didn't leave it behind. I integrated it all within me. And I started seeking a psycho-spiritual path, delving deep into the psychology and the spirituality of humans. It was actually a search for purpose, a search for meaning, what is sometimes referenced in the publications as I had a psycho-spiritual emergence. It wouldn't be an emergency. No, it was more of an emergence. I shifted into it slowly over 2 years. I left these previous careers and I directed my whole heart and mind and body in a different area. And as I went into it, as new things started to unfold to me, I started to drink in all the ancient and the modern, the Eastern and the Western philosophies and psychologies and spiritual paths. And I started to synthesize them and came out with my own, I would say, modernized versions of these ancient wisdoms, where I also integrate some of the modern psychology of the West with the wisdom traditions of the East. And this is what brings us to the current moment. So right now, I'm a consciousness teacher, mentor, and coach. I established the Consciousness Academy around 6 years ago. And out of Consciousness Academy, a spin-off was Enneagram Egypt. So Enneagram Egypt right now is the largest school in the Consciousness Academy. It is so large that it is much more known than the Consciousness Academy. It is under the umbrella of the Consciousness Academy. And through Enneagram Egypt, I established 2 major programs. The Awaken Through Enneagram program, I would say, is one of, if not one of the most comprehensive journeys or programs using the Enneagram and so many other psycho-spiritual tools for awakening, for enlightenment, for realizing yourself, what I call it, for transformation. With every session, something changes within you. And by the time you finish this 1-year program, you are acting from a totally different level of heart and mind. Beyond that, I integrated my deep knowledge and my deep experience with the Enneagram, with the integral theory and the integral consciousness model to create what is called the Integral Enneagram program. And in the Integral Enneagram program, I integrate the Enneagram with the 2-stage models of the integral program. I integrate the Enneagram with the structure stages to provide what is called the stages of the mind, what I call the stages of the mind. And I integrate the Enneagram with the state stages, but from a very Sufi perspective, while integrating into there lots of knowledge and wisdom from Buddhism, from Hinduism, from Christianity, from Judaism, from modern psychology, to create a profound spiritual program called the Stages of the Heart. And then I complete integrating the Enneagram with the remaining components of the integral theory, and that is the 1-year program. It's an advanced program. It's called the Integral Enneagram. I am also a renowned international speaker in both the Enneagram world, if you may call it, and the integral world. And I have been speaking in so many conferences around the world, and I now am known for my programs and for my models that map the human consciousness in so many dimensions, what I call the dimensions of consciousness. I'm also a corporate and executive coach and mentor, although most of my work is directed towards individuals, but I also do extensive corporate and executive coaching and mentorship, where I try to provide at least the psychological aspects of these models for people in corporate to enhance and expand both the effectiveness, efficiency, and psychological status of people in corporates and in companies. And through all these models, my philosophy is integrating science and spirituality, synthesizing them to create a human meaning and purpose. So there's lots of physics and philosophy and psychology and spirituality and history and sociology and energy, both physical gross energy and energetic subtle systems, systemic theories, consciousness studies, scientific methods, and mystic heritages. All these are synthesized in these programs to create a profound transformational experience for people who follow this path. Beyond that, and most importantly, I'm a founder of a very large international consciousness community that spans all the continents from the east to the west, hundreds of people. We might have even passed the 1,000 already. Very strong, loving community. And in this community, we combine to support each other on this path of transformation and awakening. I'm also a sports enthusiast and a long distance runner. I have completed a full marathon of 42 kilometers. I've completed many half marathons. This is a nice picture of me skydiving in addition to lots of other sports. So I enjoy being in the world. It's a lovely world and we really need to be there. I'm a seeker of truth and universal wisdom. And if I am asked anywhere, what do you do? I seek truth and universal wisdom. But foremost, beyond even all of this, I am a loving husband and a proud father of 6 beautiful souls. So that is a brief and very fast look at my extensive journey on this beautiful blue marble on Earth.